Hello everyone, welcome to my wrap-up video on the militarization of police in Mexico. So let's get into it. A couple of updates that's been happening um, in just the general country, I guess, of Mexico would be number one. Like I said, there's been local and presidential elections that are happening this year. Now, with that being said, as of this year, 16 of those candidates for the 20,000 open positions have actually been assassinated, and there's been even more that have been attacked. And all these attacks and assassinations have actually been linked to the cartels themselves. And this has just kind of been attributed to the fact that the cartels want specific people in office that are going to benefit them, and they're trying to get everyone else to drop out. Second of all, I know I touched a little bit on the fact that there's been an increase in missing people in Mexico since the militarization of police. So because many of the family members of these missing persons have actually felt that they're not receiving any closure, or their case is just not being worked on by the justice system, they're actually taking action themselves now and denying any government protection. They're going out to places such as trash dumps and digging for in hopes of finding any bodies and their missing loved ones, because they want closure themselves. Now, another update is with femicides. I know I didn't mention this in my presentation, but femicide is basically gender-based violence and murder against women. So it's actually estimated that every 2 hours, one woman in Latin America is um, killed because of femicide. And a lot of this is also linked to the cartels. Again, um, they think women are easy targets, and they use them especially for like initiations or just because they can, and they tend to be very violent in the way they attack them and then leave their bodies afterwards. So this is something that's kind of getting a little bit of attention again, especially with the International Women's Day that passed. So now, on to your guys' like questions. The first question I received a lot was the U.S.'s stance on this issue of militarization in police. I couldn't find a direct quote for this. However, I did find an interesting argument that was being made that the U.S. is actually contributing to an increased militarization in Mexico because of its immigration policy stance. What I mean by that is that because the U.S. is trying to get really harsh on illegal immigrants, and especially having Mexico um, clean up their own mess, per se, um, they, I guess Mexico is deploying more National Guard on both the US and Mexico border, as well as its southern Central American border, in order to reduce illegal immigration themselves, which in turn increases militarization even more. Now, another question I got is like the validity of Mexico's crime statistics. In the US, we do have UCRs, which is Uniform Crime Reports, which are set up by the FBI, in which um, other police agent, or I guess all the other police agencies in the US report their crime statistics to the FBI using these very specific FBI definitions. There's some question into the US's validity as well with these, but Mexico doesn't necessarily have something that's like similar to this. But if you could kind of take a look to the graph that I had put, it does show that most crimes are underreported in Mexico or just not reported at all, and this is due to low trust in police. So again, it kind of brings into question the validity of any of its crime statistics in general. Now, the last question I got was interests. What are the interests for keeping militarization? Now, like I mentioned a little bit, this is more of a political ploy. So a lot of candidates are just trying to make themselves look better by saying they're going to do something about the drug trafficking, violence, and all of the crime with it, which hasn't necessarily worked, but they still use it. And another thing that is kind of just like, I guess, a reason to keep it is because when it was initially implemented, it was supposed to be an incorruptible um, form of crime fighting, which again is kind of questionable now. But that was its original intent, so that was another reason why it was kept. Now, just to tie this back to kind of like the course themes and overarching trends from others. So, civil conflict, I know that Valeria just recently touched on this. There has been civil conflict in Mexico, just like there is civil conflict in other countries. Um, and this is the cartels versus the um, National Guard, or if you want to think about it, the citizens versus the government, National Guard. Now, increased militarization and has also brought its own international conflict. I mean, not necessarily because of the militarization itself. I mean, like the UN has definitely thought this is um, not acceptable, but like I mentioned with the US trying to decrease illegal immigration and this kind of uh, increasing militarization, it's kind of its own just like circle that never ends, really. And then lastly, humanitarian crisis. Obviously, um, with all of the violence and the crime that's going on, a lot of people are being displaced from their homes. Some of them are having to immigrate to other countries, others are just choosing to move around their own country, and they are displaced now. Um, there's also, like I said, an increase of missing people, um, just increase of crime overall and violence, and it's becoming like a humanitarian issue as to why the justice system is not protecting its people. But yeah, that's kind of just a quick little wrap up for you guys on um, what's been happening recently and just things to keep in mind. I hope you guys uh, learned something new. I really appreciate it. Thank you.